you can have your feelings. Obviously, I just shared with y'all my feelings, on the album itself. It doesn't take away the work of the artist and what they've put in. Yes, I have an absolute honker of a zit right now, but I'm not going to cover it up because I don't believe in that. So sorry, y'all are going to have to look at that throughout this whole video. I'm also sweating like crazy because it is so hot in my room right now. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has taken part in my band City of Sounds GoFundMe. We are already almost fully funded for our next project. This will allow us to remain independent, but also level up our mixes, which we're very excited about. So thank you to everyone who has taken part in helping us take this next step into who we're going to become and breaking through in 2025, supporting independent cinematic rock. Could not be more thankful. If you want to be a part of it, I will pin a link to our GoFundMe in the comments, and you can be a part of our arrival era for City of Sound. So thank y'all so much. Please go check out the GoFundMe. If you've never heard our music, the links will all be pinned in the comments. Go check us out. Keep supporting us. We've been touring and grinding so hard for the last 8 years, and we want this next project to be the project that officially puts us on the map, and we are so excited. I also want to ask, we're so close to 100,000 subscribers, which helps bring on sponsors. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, it helps the channel. It also helps my band out a lot with just the reach and continuing to grow independently. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, I would appreciate it. If not, no worries. Oh my God, I'm already like sweating. Come on, man. Okay. Sleep Token came out with a new album, and have a lot of Sleep Token listeners who are on the channel, and they have been asking me to do a review. So I'm going to do it. This album has been incredibly polarizing, I guess you would say. I have some thoughts on it. I want to say, I guess before I even get into the review of Even in Arcadia, making an album is very difficult. And what you might be saying right now is like, yeah, but bands do it all the time. When you sign to a major and you get that big advance for that first album, there is a pressure that comes and thoughts and opinions that come from the board. I mean, you're going to get it regardless, no matter how much creative control you have. I guess before we even start the review, this album felt very fearful to me. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's get into Even in Arcadia, Sleep Token's new album. I'm going to discuss my favorite songs, some of my favorite moments, and give you my honest thoughts on just what I think of the album. The first thing I want to get into is there is an incredible amount of lore on this album that I really appreciate, because when you're cultivating a fan base and you bring a lore and a story to the table that they can attach themselves to and take part in, I think that's very cool. It creates a much deeper connection with your fan base and really allows them to adventure and journey into songs. And so this album has a very interesting lore about it. So you have these two competing houses in this album of House Viridian and the Feathered Host. If I'm remembering right, House Viridian is more of like a warrior mentality, warlike house, and then the Feathered Host is more of a poetic, emotional side, you would say. A lot of this album is definitely their lead singer Vessel going back and forth between these two houses in terms of an inner conflict. Now remember, these are all things that I just picked up from it. I have no idea if this is actually true. This is just from my listen through and what I picked up on, and it's pretty much an inner struggle. I kind of attributed it to a little bit deeper, and this could be me listening to it as a lead singer of a band who is struggling to survive and like break through. To me, it felt like there was actually a much deeper, more personal conflict going on. And a lot of it was the fear of, now that we have broken through and we've made it, what happens when all this goes away? I felt that consistently throughout almost every single song. And even though I appreciate the writing aspect of writing that kind of inner strife, for me, about 4 or 5 songs in, I kind of started tuning out the album. And now well, you can click off the vid if you want, but please don't go to the comments, because obviously I have a lot of great things to say about this, but y'all know me. It's just my honest thoughts. And also, I think Sleep Token's great. I think they're great for the scene. I love that they're going to headline Download Fest. I believe it's Download Fest. Like having a rock band come onto the scene after such hard work and so many albums and finally being given the credit that they're due and headlining one of the biggest rock festivals in the world, I think it's great. So I could not be cheering for them more. It was more the inner strife struggle and commentary through this album. It started to wear thin, if I'm being totally honest. It did get to the point to where I had to restart some songs because I realized I wasn't really listening, because it kind of lost me and I kind of lost interest. I felt very like flat or like numb, I guess, which maybe that is actually a purpose. That could be purposed. But regardless, I don't like that kind of a thing. You know, I don't like feeling numb or flat listening to an album that's a commentary on inner strife. You know, I want to feel desperation, and I want to feel grit, and I want to feel like realism, and I want to feel the dynamics of the song mimic those things. And I want the dynamics of the songs to be different, to, you know, take me places and make me experience that inner strife within myself. I didn't feel any of that. I will say my 3 favorite songs on the album, which I just thought were great. I do love Emergence. I love Damocles. I think the sleeper on the album is actually Gethsemane. I think that is the sleeper on the album. I think it's great. I actually wish Even in Arcadia opened the album in terms, because it's a concept album. I wish that Even in Arcadia would have started the album, because it was such a great introduction kind of to the world, which of course that's just all of this is my opinion. Okay. So don't think that I think that I know better than anybody else or anything like that, because I don't. I'm speaking of this from my experience. I'm a songwriter. I've produced for artists. I write everything and arrange everything for City of Sound. That's the only place I'm speaking on this from. I have no other place to have strong opinions. Okay. So you can throw my opinions out the window. It's totally fair. But I'll be honest, I started to feel like what makes Sleep Token unique is their use of trap, pop, then metal elements that all culminate in these emotional choruses and, very poetic lyrics. Ironically, those things that make them feel different, I felt like kind of made it all feel very similar. So I actually didn't feel an insane amount of dynamics, punch, and intensity, because I actually ironically felt like, because I knew those differences, I knew what was coming. You do have a song like Provider on here, which is very pop sensible, especially throughout the whole album. But it was so out of left field that I was kind of trying to listen in on the lyrics, because I was like, ooh, maybe this would be some cool lyrics. And it did kind of fall flat to me. Now, remember, I don't know how to, this isn't me trying to save face. This is me trying to, I've seen some posts from some like YouTubers, which like, I'm not even a real YouTuber. I have a YouTube, but like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing on here. They had some really strong opinions, like already trying to bury the band before their greatest moment, which the irony is the commentary for me on the album is actually kind of this fear of reaching this moment you've worked all your life to get to, and you're exhausted, and then you finally make it, and then it's expected of you to put out your best work and all these things, but then you're afraid that like you already put out your best work, you already put all this work into it, and then you write an album about that, but the album actually comes off like that. That's kind of where the album lost me a little bit, is I sensed a lot of fear. And after this, I went and listened to Take Me Back to Eden, just to kind of be like, well, let's go back to where they came from, kind of hear it. And man, that album's amazing. Take Me Back to Eden is just great. Like, I mean, it really is like fantastic. And so it kind of came down to me of, I felt like this album felt a little bit fearful, and not phoning it in. I don't think that. I've seen some like polarizing posts about that. I don't think that's true. I think there was a lot of work that went into, the guitar work is fantastic. Obviously the drums are great. I don't think there was any phoning in by any means. I think that this was a case of, we are seeing the absolute inner workings and fears and insecurities of a band. And ironically, it's kind of art imitating life, like in an interesting way from the response to it. I just kind of wish, no, I don't want to say wish, because that sounds self-important and just like disregarding. I didn't expect the album to feel fearful, but to me it did. And so for me, that falls flat, because it felt as if the band had already gotten to the point right as they are exploding onto the scene. They've all of a sudden come to this like nihilist perspective on all of this. Now that might not be true at all. I'm just telling you what it felt like listening through the album. Especially going from Take Me Back to Eden is such an honest, desperate, like gritty, emotional. Yes, it's like putting pain to page, but it's fearless in the way that it is honest. Yeah, I guess that is more my honest review is now I don't think Even in Arcadia is like what some people are putting out. I mean, I've heard some things about it before I even heard it that I was just like, come on, please be supportive of a band who came out of nowhere and has worked their ass off to get here, regardless of how you feel about one album. And I think that is one thing of we are in a day and age where it's like in the past, bands would come out with albums people didn't necessarily love, but there was respect there. And there was understood that they have put out great albums in the past. They'll put out great albums in the future. And we're in this weird, like one and done kind of culture because you have TikTok songs that are 2 minutes long that don't mean anything, that you get in a studio, you throw it together, an artist picks it up out of a catalog. They throw that shit on TikTok, try to get it to trend, and no one really cares about the single 2 months later. I know that because I've been in those rooms and written for those artists and written some of those songs. And it's something though, like even with City of Sound, we have been combating for 8 years. You know, our songs are over 4 minutes long and we're not trying to fit that mold. We want to change the culture in music and how people approach it. And it's something that like I extremely disliked on the response to this album. You can have your feelings. Obviously, I just shared with y'all my feelings, you know, on the album itself. It doesn't take away the work of the artist and what they've put in and where they're going and celebrating that, you know, especially in the rock world, which is on the rise right now. And you have a fresh voice in the rock world that's different and it's unique. And the first thing people want to do is they want to take their first project, which is the most polarizing and maybe people don't enjoy, and they want to use that as a platform to like tear them down and bring them back to zero. I really dislike that. Even in Arcadia, it was fine. It was fine to listen to. Would I go back to it? Probably not. Outside of those 3 songs, Emergence, Gethsemane, Damocles, I do love those songs and I would definitely go back to them. But does that mean that an artist who has worked so hard to generate the loyalty of the fan base that they've garnered and the lure and culture they've created that people have obviously attached themselves to and find it important. And you know, there's people out there who have made friends through this whole fan base that has changed their lives. That's worth being supported too. And sometimes I think we get caught up nowadays in this just like one and done idea of people releasing projects. And I understand this is long-winded on the video, but I think it's important to cover. Just because a band drops an album that you might not like, look deeper into how their fan base treats each other. Look deeper into the culture and the lure they've created and this world and adventure they've created for their fan base, how they interact with their fan base and the longevity that fan base has had. And I can't see how anyone would not look at Sleep Token and be like, they're for real. I may not have loved the album. I'm looking over here because I'm looking at the album right here. I may not have loved it, but you can't tell me that they aren't for real. You can't tell me that they're not great musicians, that Vessel's not a great songwriter. You can't tell me that their fan base is not kind as shit and clearly loves each other. I've seen videos of them interacting and it's very sweet. I have never ran into a gatekeep with Sleep Token, which is so rare in the rock world. You can't tell me that they haven't created an incredible adventure and world to explore for their listeners. And what's more rock than that? My hope is just for Sleep Token as a band that they do not give in to the fear that one, a major label can put into you, but also all the voices in the music industry who want clicks, who want to literally monetize your disaster. They want to monetize your downfall, which is why they want you to have a downfall. And I hope Sleep Token recognizes that. And no matter what they hear about people's reviews on this album, that they keep moving forward because they're cool, dude. They are. I understand this album may not have been for me. Who gives a shit? I know how hard it is to put music together. And again, I know I'm soapboxing. I'm talking a lot. This video is already over 20 minutes long. For some reason, we love to see hard work, drive, and grind fall. We love to tear the statues down, and we love to tear these buildings down, and we love to tear down these worlds that an artist works so hard to create. And I think it's bullshit. And I'm kind of tired of it. Even in Arcadia wasn't for me. Take Me Back to Eden was.
Cost a dreamer.